Welcome to another After Effects tutorial with Disintegrator Films. This is Chris Bone. Today we're going to be using FreqReact and Dominique Rack's CosmoBox with Element 3D. Maybe a little bit of Trapcode Lux here on the side on these lights, and we're going to be creating this animation basically automatically using a script. Now, if you don't know about this, you need to check it out. So in the description below are all the links that you're going to need to follow along with this. Use that description or that link in the description for FreqReact to purchase that. It's only about 60 bucks, but believe me, I'm going to prove it to you. This is a lifesaver in animation. Check this out. Okay, so first thing that we're going to need to do is create a new composition. And the composition, let's see, the way we'll do that is we will import all of the stems for the track. The link is in the description. Now, stems are pieces of a song. And as you can see here, this is all separated. This isn't necessary, but it does make it a whole lot easier if you can get a hold of stems. So here we've got the snare, siren sound, all the different sounds that are in this track. And here is the complete track. This is what it sounds like. Okay, and then we've got just the bass. You get the idea. So each piece is separate. So hi-hats, chords. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab one of these tracks here. Let's start with the kick. All right. And we'll drop it into the new composition. Now, as you can see, there's no video going on here. It's just that audio track. And let's go ahead and start setting up our composition. So we highlight the kick.wave and we go over to FreqReact and hit this plus sign to create a new profile. We're going to call it kick. We want it to affect the entire layer, even though we're only going to use a portion of it. And we hit create. Alright, so this has some really cool features, this FreqReact. So the first feature I want to point out here is this spectrum controls thing over here in the effects and controls panel. Let's scoot forward so we see some action here. And what this does is it gives you a visual representation of the sounds that are coming through on the track. Now, since we only are using the kick drum, that's the only sound that we're going to hear. So this makes it super simple. So all you have to do is resize this box, place it in the blue area. One of the keys here, though, is to make sure that this line right here is all the way to the top red every time that kick drum hits. So let's try this. Beautiful. Okay, so since it is isolated, we know that that's going to be the same kick drum all the way through to the end of the song. All right, and so we're good to go. Next thing we need to do is come over here to where it says bake. And what this is going to do is it's going to add those audio keyframes to that track. And it takes a couple of seconds here. So now, once that is done, we'll go through and repeat it for the other pieces of the track, the other stems. Cool. Now, when we highlight the kick.wave file, if we go over here to the left, we can see the FreqReact profile is present on the effects and controls panel. You don't see anything. Don't worry. Click on the project window and let's add the hi-hat. Okay, so hi-hat, just drop that back down onto the composition. Same way we did the kick, let's highlight the hi-hat and hit the plus sign to create a new profile. We'll call this hi-hat and hit create. Alright, so it did a similar thing. It created this intermediary composition where we can check out the spectrum controls. The thing is, though, you're not seeing anything. That's because it's isolating the wrong part of the frequency. It is checking out the bass range of the frequency. If you go to full from the drop down, you'll see we've got a much bigger band and much smaller frequency height. So in order to fix that, there's some really helpful presets. You can isolate the mids and look for your isolate a different section of the mids. Probably the easiest way is by adjusting these sliders. Okay, there we go. And let's bring that spectrum height up a little bit. Let's play that back. Perfect. Okay, cool. So scroll over to where the spectrum is at its full height and resize your box. Maybe zoom in a little bit. Again, remember, we want to try to get this to the red every time this sound hits. So we want to make that smaller. Bring that down just a little bit, and it's totally red. Now let's play that back and see if that is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And check out that red area. Perfect. Beautiful. Alright, so just like we did with the kick, let's go over to bake and apply all of that audio information to that track. Now what this is going to allow us to do is to set different animations for different sounds, and this is all going to take place pretty well automatically. It's actually going to be super cool. So last one, let's do the snare. Okay, so we'll grab the snare, we'll drop it into the composition, and we will repeat the process. Go to create new profile with the snare selected, and we'll call it snare. Hit create. Go to your intermediary composition here. Again, let's take a look at the full spectrum and slide over to where we want to be. There we go. Beautiful. So let's scroll down to try to isolate this area a little bit better, and let's bring this spectrum height up. Let's watch that. Yep. Perfect. Alright, so I see the spot where I want to isolate. Again, just drag that box down, make it nice and small, grab it over here. Alright, so fully red. Let's listen. Perfect. Again, let's repeat the process. Now that we're satisfied with that, let's click bake and let's add those keyframes and values to that track. Alright, so now we have 3 different profiles for 3 different audio tracks. Alright, the next step that we'll do is we'll go back to the project window and we will grab the Revenge track, the full track. Drop that on top, and let's turn down or click the little volume button on all of those stem pieces. We need them to remain in the composition so we have access to the profiles, but we don't need to hear them because we're hearing the complete track here again with all the pieces. Alright, so the next step that we will do is we are ready to start designing. Right click on the composition, click new, solid. I like to make mine a bright green so that they're easy to identify. Rename this element. I didn't know what I just did. Element. Yeah. Alright, so make sure it is the width and height of the composition. You can do that real quick by clicking make comp size and click OK. So now we have our green solid. Then we will right click, go to effects, video copilot, element. Excellent. Alright, so once you have element up, click scene setup, and let's get into element and start setting this up. Boom. Beautiful. Alright. So as I mentioned before, Dominique CosmoBox Can't recommend it enough. Super cool. Inside that folder, you're going to find spatial boxes. Now, these are a lot of fun to play with. I happen to really like this one. Now, as you can see, it looks all gross, looks like blood. One of the coolest parts about it is it's got that awesome reflection map. So let's go in and turn up that reflectivity a little bit more. Yeah, so it's even more reflective. Beautiful. So now we've got that cube. It's set up on group 1. Now, just to get a visual representation of the way that these balls are going to work, let's create a new group folder inside the first one. So it's right next to the box. Okay. And let's see. Let's create a sphere inside that group. Okay. All right. Bring that sphere. Let's get to the top so we can see what that looks like. Bring that down a little bit on the scale. All right. So that is ball number 1. Okay, let's go over to presets, physical, grab the bright light texture, drop it on, and go down to the texture here, and let's change the color of that light. I want that to be a red light, and I want it to be super illuminated. Fantastic. All right, next thing we'll do is right click on the sphere model, click duplicate. Let's drag that copy out. Right about there. It helps to look from the top so that you can kind of eyeball it. Then grab both of them, hit duplicate model. Let's see, and then we'll grab this little widget tool, the rotation, and spin that until we're right about there on the axis. Beautiful. We'll do that again. This time we'll grab that until we're right there on the top. Close enough. Looks good. All right. Now we have a box with a bunch of balls. Now what the heck are we going to do with this? All right, so let's click on our awesome, nasty, reflective box. Let's right click on that model and let's go to reflect mode and make it spherical. Beautiful. As you can see, the red from the illumination on the balls is coming nicely off of that reflective map. And what we'll do is grab this folder, drag it down, call it group 2. So now we have group 1 and the box, and group 2 is the balls. Okay. Now, before we get any further, let's go to the environment map settings and choose a more interesting environment map. Now, you can use one of the ones that are included with Element 3D, or you can use your own. I like this backlight 4K from Video Copilot. It's got some very interesting looking reflections. I think the one that we'll use for this particular one is... let's see, let's do that one. That one looks good. I like it. Has these slits on it. Looks cool. All right. Click OK. Excellent. Beautiful. All right. All right. So that pretty well takes care of the whole setup for Element 3D. Then we just click OK, and boom. Now we see our stuff. Okay. Next thing that we'll do is right click on the composition, click New, Camera. For this particular thing, I think we want to use a $15mm lens. That's just going to give us a more exaggerated effect as things get closer. I want to hit C until you get your camera control tools and zoom yourself out a little bit. All right, so the 15mm is going to give us a very fisheye perspective. I really like that. All right, so now we've got our camera, we've got Element 3D. Let's go to the Element 3D layer here. Okay, now it's time to start reacting. Go to the drop down on effects, grab Element, and let's start with Animating Group 2. So we'll toggle down group 2. We'll go down to particle replicator and then rotation. In the rotation, let's highlight the Y rotation. Let's move forward in the composition a little bit to where we know that that sound is happening. Alright, so with the Y rotation selected, let's grab the hi-hat sound. Okay, this is selected. Now we select the hi-hat on the FreqReact panel and we click React. We're going to add a pulse reactor. Okay, and as you can see, it added this to our Element 3D layer. Now this controls. Alright, so we'll call this balls hi-hat rotation. Boom. Beautiful. What we'll do is adjust the slider, bring that up to about 100. And we want it to be very robotic. Tick, 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 tick. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to well, let's just show you what it's going to do. Not exactly what we had in mind. So let's go to the section where it says additive and let's click that and let's see now. Perfect. So as you can see, the FreqReact has given us an incremental additive change in the Y rotation of that group. Amazing. Alright, so that was just that quick and easy. So then what we're going to do is we're going to select other things and we're going to make them react to the music as well. Alright, before we go further, let's right click on the composition, click new. Let's add some lights to this composition. So we'll grab a spotlight, make it about 60%. Alright, now what I like to do is go to the multi-view, grab the custom view so we can see the positioning of our light. And let's just move that over right about there. Next thing we'll do is right click, new, solid. Let's make this one nice and blue or something so it can be differentiated. We'll call this Lux. Boom. Alright, let's get back to one view. Now right click on the Lux solid, go to Effect, RG Trapcode, and Lux. This is only if you have the Lux. If you don't have the Lux, just bear with me just for a second. Let's see. So spotlight. Now we don't see the red light. Now if we increase the reach, you're starting to see that volumetric light effect. If we make it a little bit closer, there we go. Beautiful. Now you see it. It's coming in on the right hand corner there. Looks amazing. Okay, cool. So we'll just leave it with the one light for now. Okay, now back to Element. So if we go to Element Layer and we toggle down a little bit, let's make the balls move to the kick as well. But we want the entire group to increase in size every time the kick hits. And what we'll do is we'll scroll down to the particle look, grab the particle size, highlight it. Then we highlight the kick, and then we hit react. Again, we're going to be using the pulse reactor. It's added another one here. So we'll just hit enter and we'll call this balls size. We're going to make our balls big on demand. Imagine you had that you had that ability to just make your balls huge. That's crazy. Okay, so anyway, balls size kick. Excellent. All right, so now what we'll do is scroll up in intensity. Now, yeah, let's only go about 15%, okay? We do not want the additive, or else they'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. What we want is we want the size of the replicator to grow and then shrink, grow and then shrink every time that the bass drum hits. So we'll We'll also use this smoothing feature. We'll go to about 35 on the smoothing feature and about 15 on the decay. Okay, let's play this back. Alright, so you can see every time that kick is hitting, the size of the emitter is getting larger and then settling back down when the kick is over. So the next thing that we will do is we will grab group 1. Alright, so let's come down here. Now it's important to remember you got to operate down here in the composition window and not in the effects controls panel, because what you have to do is you have to isolate the thing that you want to animate just like this. Alright, so particle size for the box. So what we want to do is we want to adjust the particle size with the kick. So again, highlight the particle size, highlight the kick, click on React, again use the pulse. We'll rename this one box size. Cool. Again, be very gentle with this. If you just hold control and slide up, you can, really fine tune this. Okay. Again, we want to add smoothing and a little bit of decay. All right. Again, too much. So we'll grab something else you can do is master intensity. So you can bring that down, and what that'll do is exponentially decrease the amount of animation applied. Again, let's go down to, let's do about 7. Perfect. All right. So I'm not getting enough reflection. So let's go back to the scene setup real quick. So what I want to do is get these a little bit closer. And the closer they are, the more you'll be able to see the awesome reflections off of that creepy looking box. Excellent. Okay, there we go. If you zoom in, you can really see that. Looks great. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is to adjust the spin of the box with the hi-hat. Alright, so again, the box is group number 1. Go to the particle replicator, rotation, Y rotation. We want it to react with the hi-hat. Click that, and again, the pulse reactor. Now we will step away from the pulse reactor momentarily in just a moment. Okay, so this will be box spin or rotation. Okay, and we want it to be incremental just like the other one. So we'll go to 100, and we want it to be very robotic as well, the ticking. Click additive. Beautiful. All right, so now we have all of those things being driven automatically to the beat exactly. And if you've worked with Element 3D, you know how difficult that can be to animate Element 3D to music using markers and keyframes. I want to point out that in none of this have I set a single manual keyframe. But look what FreqReact has done. It has put all of these keyframes in here for all of these tracks, and it is creating this custom animation to the music for us automatically. This is a life-saving script for people who want to animate stuff to music. Okay, so I said we would walk away from the pulse for just a second. Let's click on the spotlight. Okay, and then we scroll down to light options, and we'll grab the color. Now, again, highlight the color, and every time the snare hits, we want that to change color. How are we going to do that? Make sure those are selected and click React. Then you go to Steps, Reactor. Now this is really cool. Now we want it to start off on red. Then what do we want it to do? Then let's make it go blue and yellow and orange. All right, then we go scroll down to mods. We want it to go through 3 steps. And play that back. What you should see is every time the snare hits, the light will change color. Again, this is automatically. I can't express to you the amount of time saved in custom animation by the FreqReact script. Can you imagine how long that would take you? That's just a crazy amount of time saving. Okay, so excellent. The next thing we'll do is just go down to your Element 3D layer and a little bit of housekeeping. So we'll go to the render settings, physical environment, and we will grab this lighting influence and we will turn it all the way up. And what that'll do is it will make After Effects look at only the lights and not the environment map. Okay, next thing we'll do is we'll grab shadows and we'll click enable. We'll grab ambient occlusion, we'll click enable, and we'll go down here to output. And on output, we want to grab multi-sampling, go to 16, 2, and enhanced multi-sampling. So super sampling is at 2, enhanced multi-sampling is enabled. And what that'll do is it'll give us a much more high definition and smooth edge on that really shiny surface. And that'll improve our render quality quite a bit. Okay, so one more time, my name is Chris Bone. You are watching a Disintegrator Films tutorial on FreqReact, animating Element 3D automatically. Link is in the description box below. I suggest if you do a lot of animating to music, this is the tool that you need. FreqReact will help you to do this automatically, and it's not just Element 3D that it can help you with. I mean, it's just about anything. So the idea is if it has a keyframeable ability, then you can react it. All right, so big shout out to DAVEYSTUDIO. Thank you so much for this amazing plugin. The link in the description will take you right to the place where you can buy this. Last I saw it was only $60. It's a game changer. So thank you so much for watching. Please click like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see some more awesome tutorials like this, and maybe a couple of bad jokes tossed in here and there. But thank you so much, and we'll see you guys again next time.